Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get More Clients. I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down leads, lack client retention, conversion, and profit. The mission of this show is to educate, inspire, and motivate women around the world to build a robust sales strategy to get more clients. Because most can't get more clients and haven't a clue why. You will learn to transform thinking to the client's perspective, eliminate the lengthy, chaotic sales cycle to ignite your sales and unleash lasting profits. You will also have the opportunity to connect with me further to see how I can support you beyond today. Guest podcasting. I am one to talk to you. It's a very simple, straightforward talk. This was what it was supposed to be. And it was going to be delivered to a Women in Publishing Association. It needed to be fresh and reveal a whole new opportunity. Having interviewed several authors on my podcast, I knew firsthand how guest podcasting could elevate an author, their brand, and reach. At the end of the 3-day conference, it was one of the most popular talks. I could not even visit the restroom without someone tagging along to pick my brain. The following week, I was asked to write an article for a women's business publication. Still riding the wave from the conference, I decided to repurpose my talk into an article, shifting the content slightly to fit this new audience. After the article was published, it was tweaked and published on our own website with an attribution to the original publication. Next, it became a topic when I was a guest on podcasts, the subject of one of my shows, actually more than one, multiple summit presentations, and a masterclass. One piece of content that continues to thrive like the Energizer Bunny. Today, we will explore 5 ways to repurpose and refresh content to grow your client base. Every piece of content you create can and should be repurposed in multiple formats. Doing this expands your reach, leverages your expertise, and grows your business quickly. By the end of today's show, you will know how to use and to leverage your existing content and the new assets you create. Plan your time, resources, and process to expand your reach. Apply 5 big ideas for repurposing and where to start. You scale your authority, results, and sales when you repurpose your content. Your prospects and clients absorb content in a myriad of ways and often need multiple exposures before your message sticks. Repurposing achieves all of this while keeping your time and resources in balance. So let's kick this off with the most important point. You need a rockin' piece of content. The content must align with, yes, you've got it, your client why. What do they want, need, or lack? What problem does it help them solve? Area of concern to be addressed, or answer a specific pain point. Why does it matter to them? What's in it for them to consume the content? So they can what? ... In the last episode, I provided great advice on where to start. Let's revisit. Think of 10 questions your perfect client has. In fact, go ahead and pause this right now and think of 10 questions your client has. What about their top 10 objections? And their top 10 pain points? All of these related to your product or service, of course. Now, after you've completed this exercise, prioritize the top 3 in any of those 3 categories. You've got 30 pieces of potential content. Pick 3 and answer these questions, these pain points, what they want, need, or lack via blogs, it can be a video, a white paper, infographic, ... The list goes on. Provide a reason for the prospects to follow up with you when you create this content. Another strategy, other than these top 10, is to interview a thought leader in your industry or a series of thought leaders to put an article together. It can be a video article as well. You could be a video post where you're interviewing people that can then become a written article. You can see where I'm going here, about a specific topic, problem you solve. All right. Then package those responses. And this could, once again, this could be a video series, a podcast series. It could be a case study. It could be a guide. And it can be all of those things. It's just wherever you want to start that process. The bottom line is your content must align with your client why to trigger interest and consumption of your product. All right, so let's dive into that first key point about what you're going to learn today, how to use and leverage your existing content. So some of you may actually be thinking, why on earth would I want to repurpose my content? I mean, honestly, you could actually be in that space. Like, hey, I've created this great piece of content. I don't want to replicate it. Don't want to keep giving them the same thing. Well, here's the thing. One is that by leveraging the content, this great piece of content that you've already provided, you're going to increase your authority and your social proof around that topic. It's a phenomenal piece of SEO. You want to be able to really be known for those core keywords that relate to you, and that content needs to speak to that. And when you repurpose it in multiple formats, you're leveraging that SEO findability on an organic search. All right. You also will be able to expand your audience. I already said this, but people digest content in a myriad of different ways. And sometimes they're in the mood for a video, or sometimes they want to read an article, right? Sometimes they want to listen to a podcast. This allows them to be and do that pull. They're going to pull the content in that they discover. Now, it also enables you to create new products. Think about it. If you did that interview and you interviewed a bunch of different industry leaders and you built that out, that could actually become part of a whole series that could become a course. It could become a book, all of those things that you can repurpose and sell. Now, this is one of those great things, just like what I'm doing right now on the TV shows. Every one of these episodes are being repurposed, and we're using them in multiple ways. It could literally become a book and all put together in this great knockout book. It can become a course. It can be repurposed in so many ways. And this allows you to increase your sales because you're providing content that people can digest and absorb in the way that works for them. All right, let's talk about how to use and leverage that content. Now, I want you to think about this one place. Let's start with that piece that you're going to interview 7 different industry leaders. You do those interview processes, which is another great way for you to leverage that relationship, make that connection, and to also then do a follow-up because you're going to provide them with the article that's been published, asking them, of course, to share it and widen your exposure and the reach to a whole new audience. But you've interviewed these 7 people, and let's say you do it as a video interview, like a Zoom interview. You know what? You could even make them be Facebook Live interviews where you're interviewing them. All right, so let's start there. It is a Facebook Live interview. So you've done that interview. You were able to capture the video. You can now repurpose that video, and it is added to your website as this interview of this industry leader. All right, you can also then write it out as an article. You can pull the transcript from that video and create an article about the interview. The questions you asked, the answers that they had, that becomes a blog post. These are both becoming social media pieces that you're promoting. And in fact, the video can be cut up into video snippets and used for posting, right? and to drive interest and intrigue. And of course, you can then take that content and build upon it with the next interview. And it becomes a series. It can become part of a guide. It can become part of a case study. And so you've taken that one initial piece of content and you've already repurposed it multiple ways. All right. So let's talk about planning your time, resources, and the process so that you can repurpose your content. So what I just gave you, that example, you want to make it simple. So whatever that piece of content is that you begin with, and however that transpires. So I told you that story at the beginning, and it started with a piece that was for a summit. And now I created an original piece of content for that conference, I should say. And that original piece of content, I wanted it to be fresh. I wanted it to fit that audience. And having had the opportunity to interview multiple authors on my podcast, I made that connection. Authors podcasting. They get to reach a whole new audience of people who haven't heard about them, who haven't read their books. They get to have an asset that they can then repurpose in their own social media, on their website for SEO, and also in their outreach in sales, providing this piece of content to learn about them. It could even be part of their welcome newsletter sequence that they could pop in a video snippet. So they have multiple ways that they could use this content. So there, when I built out that presentation and put that in, what matters to that audience, right? What matters to them? How is it? What do they want, need, or lack? Well, they want more exposure. You know, they lack a reliable method to get that exposure. You know, they need some assistance in how to get that extra exposure. And what area of problem is it trying to solve? Well, it immediately solves a problem of how to do some outreach, how to expand their reach, how to create that spark. All right. So that's a pain point of how to get more readers, how to get people looking at who they are as an author, the books that they write, and engaging in their content. So solve that problem to bring people in. If they're a guest on a podcast, it will bring them in to their landing page where they can get a free book or a starter book or a chapter of a book and get someone involved with their stories and their writing. So it really is addressing all these different things. And why does it matter to them? So they can sell more books. At the end of the day, the so they can is so they can sell more books. So when you start with that and you create that one single piece of content now, and you spent the time and energy to research it, to put, in this case, it was a full presentation with a talk, with slides, with graphics, all of these things that came together. It was a rocking piece of content, but all of that could then be repurposed over and over again, because now I've got a terrific piece of content that matters, that speaks to my client why. And in fact, that piece about guest podcasting, it applies to every business owner and entrepreneur, coach, solopreneur, micro business out there. Because if you're not guest podcasting, you should be. And there's going to be more on that in upcoming episodes. Don't get me wrong. Stay tuned. But when you take that piece of content and then you're going to repurpose it, because there are very similar pain points, areas of concern, problems that they're trying to solve, why it matters to them, so they can. All right. And with that thread that you've woven through, and then the thread also of matching up to your SEO about sales training, sales strategy, getting more leads, all of that fits in to that master strategy. So you're going to make it simple now and take that content and look at what you've done. You've actually created a slide deck, which can be represented. It can become a micro course, right? You can represent that as a micro course. You can add it to your website, put it in a platform where they pay to to digest and absorb that content. You can take that content and distill it down into a guide. That presentation can become literally a 2-page or a 4-page guide with the same information. All right, now we can also take that content and we can build it out. We had a speech, we had a talk that went with that presentation. You've already written it. Oh my gosh, you've got an article. You're ready to rock and roll, right? You're ready to do video snippets on this. You can record yourself doing the talk and take snippets from that you can repurpose and use on social media to drive them to this fantastic content, to drive them to the course. So the key is now we can also take that content and also create, I told you about the tools and templates. You could create a tool. So this is a guide on the 7 steps that you need to take for this to be really successful. You know, in my case, built a process map, 12 steps before, 12 steps after. And that process map becomes a tool. You can also create a template. What's a template for creating a speaker bio sheet, right? That's related to that content that matters. It's a problem that you're trying to solve. So someone knows what to do and how to do it. Now you're going to plan and post all these different ways that you're going to use this content. And once again, it doesn't have to be right away. All right. It's not like you're going to do this overnight and create 10 different ways of the topic, whatever that is. Instead, you're going to plan the cadence out so that you can deliver it over time and keep repurposing that content. So I want you to think about pushing a giant boulder up the hill. That seems like, oh my gosh, it's going to roll back on me. Well, it isn't when you plan it out and you decide how you're going to repurpose that content and what elements that you can use immediately. In the sense of my talk, I immediately had a presentation that I could provide as a mini course. I immediately had the speech, which was a written content in a blog post. Those were simple and easy to repurpose and to generate new content. So that is what you're going to be doing. So instead, you're pushing a pebble up the hill. Heck, I can kick a pebble up the hill. So think about your process. So in my case, you can download the file. If you're doing the Facebook Live, remember that was a suggestion. We're going to do a Facebook Live. We're interviewing someone. We're going to download the file. We've got the video now. We're going to go ahead and get our AI transcript done, which usually costs $4 to $6. And depending if you already have Otter AI set up on your Zoom, or if you are using Teamy or something else, you can get that AI transcript. It's not perfect, but it gets you where you're going. And you already knew what questions you're going to ask. So you have some kind of a script that you're going to be asking those questions. So now you can put those two together, and now you can build out your written format in the form of a blog post or an article. You can also think about how this article could potentially be first presented to outside publications. Let's get this out. Let's submit it as an article to some of the other sites. That's going to really build on your leverage, right? Leverage your authority, your expertise, expand your reach. And you can take that content once it's published, wherever it is, Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur, and now you can republish it on your own site with an attribution to the original publication. Now, let's say you've got that video. Well, now you can create video snippets. What's that process map looks like? What does it look like? We've got the audio, we've got a video, because you can strip your audio from your video. You've got a transcript that you've generated, all the different ways that you can purpose this. All right. Now, I talk a lot about a tool called MindMup, and I want to encourage you to use that because this will help you process map all the different ways that you can reuse your content. All right. Now, let's talk about 5 big ideas for repurposing. So, truth be told, this episode is already being repurposed. Yep, it's repurposed content. I was asked to be a return guest speaker at a business and speaker training group. And this is the topic that I created a brand new presentation. specific for the training. And of course, repurposing content is a key part of your communication and outreach. It was perfect for sales strategy and why this is important, right? And it solves a critical pain point about creating content and a way to connect with your audience, to connect with new leads, to have them pulling them in instead of constantly pushing out to them. Of course, you're going to push out content, but you're going to pull them in with that content. It's that push and pull, but you can also pull them in by all the different ways that you can repurpose that single piece of content. Once again, leveraging your time and your resources. So let's talk about 5 big ideas. And I'm going to feel like I'm a little bit of a broken record, but let's go through a different scenario, a completely fresh scenario. And in this case, what you're going to do is you've written a blog article. So you've written an article about whatever that topic is. Now, I want you to think about this article that you've just put together. And you've done your research. You've gotten some great graphics that you've put together for it. Well, people think in different ways. Some people want to see a process map. How can you take that article and sort of break it down into a process map, a step 1, step 2, step 3, and create that as a graphic? That can become an infographic. It can be tied to the article. It can be shared on social media, but some people are going to love that process map. Other people, they want the written format, right? Now, other people, they want it fast. So now you can take that same blog article and you can repurpose it to become a video presentation. And this will, again, you can go live. If you're using a tool like, Restream or StreamYard, you could actually go live on every platform. You can also record yourself doing that whole topic as a video and going through it as a speech, speaking directly to your audience in the camera. And then now you can repurpose that again. So those are 2. Actually, I've already given you a bunch of ideas. All right, so we've got that infographic that we've created, that process map. We've created it now as a video. Now think about this again. We're going to divide up that blog post, and now we're creating articles, sections of that as quotes that become social media posts that are driving interest to that. We're also creating video snippets from the video that we've produced. All right, now this video, now we're going to take the process map and we're going to take the video and we're going to put this in a different format of more of a guide. We're going to go into some additional detail or reformat how it looks and appears. And now we can repackage this again into a micro course. So someone can watch the education, they can listen and hear it. They can also then go through the guide and then they have their process map. So now you've repurposed it again. That guide can become a lead magnet. You have a landing page that drives people to the guide so they can download the guide. And the guide now is added into the article as a backlink so they can go get the guide. So you can see where I'm going with this. Now, the other thing is I don't want to forget the value of this, whatever piece of content, and how you're going to use it as a sales asset. This is absolutely critical because every single piece that you generate becomes a sales asset because you're speaking directly to your audience. You're aligning with their client why. You're solving a problem. You're addressing a concern. You are working through a pain point for them. So it matters to them so they can. And this becomes pieces of content that you can use in your outreach and your follow-up as part of your sales strategy. So we're going to get into that more in future episodes of how to map that all out. But this single piece of content, when you spend that extra bit of time doing it right and really answering the client why and going through that exercise, it's going to give you multiple dividends. It's going to pay back over and over again how you can reuse and leverage that single piece of content. Now, one more idea. if you did do the interviews, so you interviewed someone, those industry leaders, make sure that you keep them in the loop. All right. As your article is put together and it's published, make sure they get the link to it. Ask them to share the article. You've developed a relationship with this new individual. They could become a purchaser, a partner, certainly a promoter of promoting the article. And you want to make sure that you're giving them that opportunity. All right. And of course, you should be asking them for introductions to additional people that you could either interview or that you could meet. And it opens up a whole new opportunity for you to use and to leverage. All right. So I've gone through a whole lot of content, and I want to touch on the last thing, where to start. I've already told you where to start. Your client why. All right, that's where you start. Number one. Number two, what comes naturally to you? What's easier for you? Is it writing? Is it talking? Is it doing a video? Is it, I don't know, whatever it is. Is it being in the dark in a room, but speaking on a podcast? All right. What is the easiest thing for you? Is it doing a whole lot of research and mapping out the process? You've got that blueprint kind of mind. Start there. Start wherever it is that is the easiest and most natural for you to create that content. All right. That original piece of content. And think about the biggest gap that you can address for your clients and your prospects and clients. What's that big gap that you can help them move from here to there and really bridge the gap, bridge the chasm? All right. Now, I already told you my story at the beginning of this episode. That single piece of content has been repurposed over a dozen times. It's on our website, and the link to the masterclass are in the show notes. And to solve the mystery, you're just one click away. Thank you so much for tuning in. My purpose is for you to get more clients. Bottom line, don't make this harder than it has to be. Sales should be a win-win. On behalf of the Win-Win Women Network, I have carved out a limited number of time slots to invite you to hop on and ignite your sales call with me to see what's working, not working, and what you would love to have working. I'm going to see how I might further support you in effectively generating more leads, converting more sales, and fulfilling on your promise as a brand and organization. The fastest way to success is to assure people know that they matter. And the best way to make that happen is to build a consistent sales strategy to acquire, convert, and capitalize on every lead. You will find growing your business is easy and lucrative. Today, we explored 5 ways to repurpose and refresh content to grow your client base. The key is for you to implement these steps to stop wasting time, energy, and resources. You have the opportunity to jump in and get the support you need for true success. Say yes to you and get on a call with me. I am truly gifted at this, and you deserve a shortcut to your success with the right support. Go to pdq.link/win-win. You can also connect with me on our website, and to stay current on all of our insightful advice, breakthrough advantages, and never miss an episode of Get More Clients, you can sign up for our weekly wisdoms at petitetoqueen.com. Next week on Get More Clients, you will discover how to build a winning sales process with valuable freebies and warm welcomes. So I will see you next week on Get More Clients.